All right, you've had bad hair days before. Here's a couple easy ways that I teach my clients to avoid them and have the best hair in the room. The inside job. All right, so here's a great way to have a bad hair week without even realizing what you did. The other day, Leslie decided that her hair just wasn't black enough, so we took it from this black to this black. Huge difference, right?
Huge, massive.
0. Anyway, when I blow dried her hair afterwards, it was a little off. It was drier and the texture wasn't as smooth and shiny like it normally was.
And it's very smooth and shiny.
Usually. The same thing happens to you when you get your hair colored, but you may not notice because, let's be honest, your stylist is probably a little bit better than you are at doing your hair, and you're just like, oh, this looks great, and you just move on. But that dryness is still there, and if you don't do something about it, the next time you wash and style your hair yourself, there's a good chance you're gonna have a bad hair day. So here is your homework, friend. The next time you get your color done, here's what you can do to get your hair back to normal. On your first wash after getting that color done, you're gonna use a hair mask to restore the moisture to your hair and get things up and running again. And then a week later, you're gonna mask up again for the second time. Because normal color, excluding highlights and going light, isn't actually that damaging, but it will give you a bad hair day, and if you leave it unchecked for years, damage and dryness is gonna start to build up.
Yeah, because your bad hair day turns into a bad hair
month. So please remember to give your hair some of that lovin's after you get your color done. Moving on. The all-nighter. All right, this is a mistake every single one of my clients has made at some point in their life. And if you like your hair to behave and do what you tell it to do, make sure not to do this. All right, so you had a long day, it's getting late, you take your shower, you wash your hair, whatever, but you're just too tired to do your hair afterwards. So you go to bed with wet hair like, I'll just deal with it in the morning. And I know exactly what you're thinking.
How in the world does Chris know what I do every night?
No, but you probably have heard that sleeping with wet hair is a no-no because it can break off easily. And yeah, maybe a tiny bit of truth to that, but that's not what I'm talking about here. This is much worse. It actually sets you up for the worst hair day of all time. And this is what I would tell my worst enemy to do if I was intentionally trying to mess her hair up for the next day. Pretend you didn't hear that, worst enemy.
I don't listen to you anyway.
Anyway, the reason it's so terrible is when your hair is wet, the water actually breaks some of the bonds in your hair. That's why you hear people parrot that whole don't sleep with wet hair thing, because it's not as strong when the bonds are broken. But there's actually a benefit to having those bonds broken, and it's that the hair becomes moldable, meaning you can change the shape of your hair really easily. That's actually how those overnight curl things work. You mold the wet hair around the tube type thing here, and as it dries overnight, the water goes away. And the bonds reform to lock in the spiral shape the hair was wrapped in. Bing, bang, boom, overnight curls. Easy. Not that easy, actually. Now you might see where I'm going with this. If you go to bed with wet hair and you let it just splay out in whatever direction, you're actually locking in that madness overnight. It's a really, really bad idea, Les. Because when you wake up the next morning looking like Medusa and you try to get your hair going the way you want it to, it is going to fight you because you already locked in the crazy shape and you're gonna lose that fight. And yeah, sure, you can go scorched earth with tons and tons of heat and irons, but that's gonna cause a ton of damage because you're working against your hair instead of working with it, which is what you should be doing. And I know some of you guys like to re-wet your hair, but it's never the same. It's almost like the microwave. And I'm not talking about that chili that can actually be better the next day. I'm talking about like microwave week-old fish that smells up the whole place and tastes terrible. So instead, work with your hair and style it right after you take the shower. If you're tired, take your shower the next morning. That's totally fine. Do whatever you have to do to shower and style right after each other. Let those bonds in your hair work for you instead of working against you. That's how we get the best hair in the room. Hair is so much easier when you do it the right way. Moving on. Styling your hair naked.
How scandalous.
A while back, Leslie went on a girls' trip for somebody's birthday or something like that. She was telling me how they went to the beach during the day, but that night when they were getting ready to go out, they're getting dressed up, they all have the cute outfits and all that stuff, but only 2 of the 8 girls actually brought hair products, and one of them was Leslie.
Shocker.
It's really bad. And they were just gonna leave their hair completely naked. No products, none at all. They just throw it in a braid or leave it all tangled or whatever. And you might think that I'm judging people who don't use hair products. It's actually not at all where I'm going with it. I totally get that hair products can be really intimidating and nothing works. You have a huge graveyard of products under your sink that you never use. Totally understandable. That's literally why I made this channel. If you want to figure out your hair, just go check out my recommended product list. It's right in the description. It'll walk you through everything. Start there for good hair days. Products are easy and amazing when you actually have the right ones. Happy mistakes. Sometimes your hair is legitimately working against you. But there are other times when your bad hair is actually your own fault and you don't even realize what you did to make it like that.
It's never my fault.
Here's a big one that I see in my salon that just happened last week. A client had finished her hair appointment, it's looking all great, and she's just waiting on an Uber so she can leave. She was visiting Florida where it's nice and sunny outside, so she wanted to go outside and wait for her ride out there. But that is absolutely not cool at all, because if you get your hair done in my salon, you are going to have a good experience. I'm gonna make daggum sure that your hair looks amazing for the next couple days. So there was no way I was just gonna sit and watch a client outside waiting for a ride while that Florida humidity is literally melting your hair right in front of my eyes. So I popped my head outside the door and I'm like, hey, can you do me a huge favor and just wait inside, because I promise you the humidity is gonna destroy your hair. And really, you should do this everywhere, not just Florida. If you want a good hair day, stay out of the humidity. I don't care if it's only like 30, 40%. If you have the choice, it's always going to be a better hair day in the air conditioning. Always. Moving on. Bad strategy. I had a client who at first didn't like to blow dry her hair. She was like, oh, it takes too long, it never comes out right. What's the point? And I absolutely love it when this happens, because there's a reason this channel is called Blowout Professor. I absolutely love showing people how easy and awesome it is when you know how to blow dry your hair. It turned out that she was making two really common mistakes when she was blow drying her hair, which I'll run through really quickly. The first thing she was doing wrong was she was letting her hair fall off the brush. Whether you're blow drying or using a blow dry brush, any hair that falls off the brush is not getting styled. And because of that, it's not gonna match the rest of your hair. It'll look all weird and unstyled. It's an easy way to have a really bad hair day. Her other mistake was skipping her ends. Most people completely skip their ends or just slide the brush through for just a half second or something like that. But you need to give your ends a few seconds of heat. They need to be styled just like the rest of your hair, or else they'll come out frizzy and you'll be like, oh man, my ends are bad. I need to get a trim, when you really don't. You just need to blow dry them. I'm gonna do a tutorial with Leslie to show you exactly how it's done.
Like a pro?
But let's keep it moving. Sloppy sleeping.
Are you talking about me?
A few days ago, I got an email, hey Chris, I get this split in the back of my head whenever I sleep. How do I fix that? Bedhead is responsible for much anger, many bad hair days, but this is 2023. We have modern technology that can save your hair from this. And by modern technology, I mean an old-fashioned hair bonnet from the 60s, just like my grandmother used to wear. If you're sleeping with your hair over your shoulders on both sides, I love you, but you're gonna get that annoying split down the back of your head. And for all my short hair people, bonnets are especially great for you, because short hair is really hard to clip up and control. Bonnet puts it on easy mode. If you have longer hair, you could totally do a loose bun high on your head. It's totally fine, but a bonnet is gonna give you a lot more control. And again, this is like easy mode. If you're struggling, just go for the bonnet. Now, a few people have let me know that they don't think bonnets are that sexy. And I totally disagree with them, but I'd like to work with people, so here's an easy way to make your bonnet sexy. You are not going to put this on at 6 p.m. when you get home from the early bird dinner and bingo like my grandmother did. What you're gonna do is wait until you get in bed and you're turning the lights off, and then put it on. Light is not required for this to work. They're not solar powered.
How deceiving.
What? No one needs to see you wearing it for it to work. But what they will see is your great hair when you wake up in the morning, especially if you follow this next section. The early bird special. All right, so you protected your style overnight. Very nice. I'm impressed, but you can't just roll out of bed expecting your hair to look great without doing anything to it. You need to spend at least 45 seconds to polish everything up and get it looking good again. And that polish comes first from your detangling brush. It should be a wet brush or one of their knockoffs. If you're using a tangle teaser, it's really time to upgrade. These literally add shine, gets your hair all going in the same direction, gets rid of the knots. And if you're using a comb or something else like that to get your hair ready, you're not gonna get it. don't use those. The second half of those 45 seconds are gonna be the second habit that I recommend all my clients do in the morning. You're gonna polish up your ends with oil. You don't need a ton of oil, just put a bit more on there to get rid of the dry look and you're good to go. Makes a huge difference. These two things bring your look together like you just styled it. Mandatory daily maintenance. Moving on. The Strangler. All right, this one is for Leslie here because she wanted to include this. She sees so many comments from people saying that the Invisibobbles don't work when they do. The problem these people have is that when they sleep with their hair in a loose bun overnight, like we said earlier, they wake up with this big old dent in their hair where the Invisibobble was. Bad hair day for sure. There's a super easy way to stop that. You just have to understand that you're the strangler. You're strangling your own hair. 20 years from now, they're gonna make a Netflix documentary about you and you're gonna watch it because you can't help but watch those things. And the reason it's called the Strangler is because when you put this in your hair, you keep doubling it over and doubling it over until your hair can't even breathe. This isn't like a loaf of Wonder Bread where you need to twist that thing really tight to make sure it stays fresh. You want to twist this thing the least amount of times possible to keep your hair up. It's a loose bun, it's supposed to be loose.
Pro tip, when you get it out of the package, it's still too tight. Kind of want to loosen it up a little bit.
Just gonna play with it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Play with this problem. I've never met anyone in real life who wasn't like, oh, okay, I get it now, after they learn this. But if you're still having problems, feel free to leave an angry comment for Leslie.
You can join my collection.
All right, thank you so much for hanging out today. If you're still trying to find the right products for you, check out my recommended product list. It's right in the description. It even has a hair type quiz to walk you through everything. Have a good one.
And have a great hair week.